Bulldog here. This is my first European game with the, I've gotten some new camera equipment and new microphone equipment that I'm still learning how to use. So I hope you enjoy this Axis&Allies Europe Classic game. And remember to like and subscribe, and if you like to see more battle reports like this, I'm hoping to increase the quality and stuff like that in the future. And I'd like for any of you who'd like to play in any of my games, just leave a comment saying you'd like to play. In the bottom, I play on a Facebook Messenger, so please enjoy. For this game of Axis&Allies Europe Classic, we're going to be using green sticks to represent United States movements, orange for Great Britain, red for the Soviet Union, and purple for Germany. And I'll be using red chips to show you which casualties has happened during the battle. So on to German turn one. German turn one. The Germans launched their fleet solely against the British fleet this turn, sending 3 submarines against the Celtic Sea British fleet and the Canadian fleet, sending 2 submarines against the British fleet with a battleship, along with a bomber and 2 fighters. They attacked a single destroyer in the English Channel with 1 submarine, hoping to get lucky. They also sent their, I'd say, Italian fleet down to attack the British destroyer off of Gibraltar, and they made an attack across the front of Russia, hitting all 3 of the areas in between, the Baltic states, eastern Poland, and the small state, I can't remember what his name is, but they also launched an attack in the north against Karelia. So let's roll them up and see where they land. Into German turn one. The Germans were successful in wiping out all the British ships in the Atlantic Ocean, as well as down off the Strait of Gibraltar, losing 5 submarines, well actually 4 submarines and a fighter. And in the east, the Russians were actually pretty successful, pretty much destroying 1-to-1, even though they were highly outnumbered. And they actually got real lucky in eastern Poland. The Germans didn't get any hits in the first round, and the Russians scored 3 hits with 4 infantry. So they ended up pulling back to Poland and waiting for reinforcements. And reinforcements have been showing all the moves of reinforcements. Everybody's heading east. So on to Russia turn one. Russia turn one. The Russians purchased 5 artillery and are making all non-combat moves. Great Britain turn one. The British purchased nothing this turn, saving their $25. Probably trying to put whole fleet out in one turn or something. They do move down into Libya with their infantry from Transjordan and Syria, along with their Egyptian force. Probably going to push into the Tunisia area where the Germans are. But on to United States turn one. United States turn one. The United States purchases 3 destroyers and saves $4. Looks like they're getting ready to do some sub hunting, which they start out with by sending their destroyer and transport up to the strait off the coast of Canada with fighter and bomber support. That's their one attack action for the round, so let's roll that out and see where it lands, and on to Germany turn two. German turn two. The Americans were unfortunate in their attack on the German subs last turn. The Germans got 2 hits and only lost 1 sub and destroyed the American fleet. But they got 3 new destroyers waiting for their next turn. The Germans have spread their fleet out across every convoy zone in the Atlantic, are taking every convoy zone. All right, getting ready for the Battle of Belarusia. The Russians have 28 infantry and artillery, so that's 28 rolls for 2 or less. The Germans have 4 infantry attacking at 1, an artillery and 1 infantry, 10 tanks, 4 fighters, and 1 bomber. Seems like a pretty even match. Let's roll this first round and we'll get back with you. After round 1, the Battle of Belarusia, the Germans did pretty decent. They scored 13 hits, and the Russians actually did real well. They scored 12 hits. End of German turn 2. The Germans ended up retreating after their first round of combat with the Russians in Belarusia. With their non-combat moves, they amassed their forces in eastern Poland. Yeah, almost all those forces, they're all concentrated in eastern Poland there, including the 8 tanks they built last turn. About 15 tanks and roughly 15 infantry and probably about 5 artillery. So we'll have to see what Russia decides to do on their turn. Russia turn 2. The Russians purchased 3 infantry and 2 artillery and are launching a counterattack with 3 infantry and artillery, 3 tanks and a bomber against Karelia. It's got 4 German infantry on it, and 2 infantry and a fighter against Archangel, who's got 1 German infantry on it, and basically move their entire force into Belorussia after their success in the last round. There's probably going to be a pretty big battle there coming pretty soon. So let's roll up these battles in the north we got, and then we'll be on to Great Britain turn 2. Great Britain and United States turn 2. The Great Britain only purchased naval units and didn't do any attacks this turn. They purchased a carrier, 2 destroyers, and a transport. So hopefully they can maybe start landing some troops in Europe. The Americans purchased a battleship and a bomber and launched 2 destroyers against 1 submarine in one of their convoy zones, and a bomber and a destroyer against a submarine in another one of their convoy zones. So let's roll them up, and then it's on to German turn 3.